what's up and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today's video is going to be all about the struggle of sleeping when you are on your period. And then after I just kind of really talk about the struggle of sleeping when you're on your period, I'm gonna be giving you guys 5 tips and tricks for sleeping when you are on your period, because actually this is the second episode, I guess I would say, of like a series I'm thinking of continuing on my channel, because it originally started with the idea of making a video all about the struggle of showering and bathing on your period. I will link that video right here and I will also link it down below for you guys to check out. But it really inspired me to like make a whole series on my channel about like all the different struggles and like all the daily activities that are just made into such a struggle when you're on your period, like showering and bathing. And now I'm doing a whole video about like how sleeping is such a struggle when you're on your period. And I want to do a video like this on so many other topics that like periods make into a struggle. So yeah, let me know any suggestions for that down below. But anyway, for today, I'm going to be talking about the struggle of sleeping when you're on your period, because I feel like it's something that no one ever talks about, but it's literally one of the biggest struggles when you are on your period, and I'm gonna get way more into that in this video. So before we get into this video, please like this video and comment down below why you're here. Like if you just like period videos, or like if you look this up, you just want some tips and tricks on sleeping when you're on your period, because like honestly, it can be really hard between like cramps and period back pain and like just period pain in general, and the constant blood flowing out of you, especially on heavy flow nights or like days or whatever. And yeah, I don't want to talk anymore. I want to talk about the struggle of sleeping when you are on your period, and then give you guys some tips and tricks on sleeping when you are on your period. So let's get into the video. So I'm just gonna kind of walk you through why it is such a struggle to sleep when you're on your period. Okay, so you're about to go to bed. Whenever you go to bed, I usually go to bed at like around 11 or 12. It really depends on like the night, like if it's a school night, if it's like a weekend the next day. But when I'm on my period, it's a really big struggle, and especially if you have a heavy flow, you know, like on that day or like day 2, day 3, whenever you have a heavy flow. Like I honestly have a very heavy flow, like which is probably not normal, but blood is just constantly pouring out of you. And so how the heck are you going to get a break to change into that huge overnight pad that you're gonna have to wear, and then get into your bed and like lie down and go against gravity and get into your bed while you're... Do you know what I'm talking about? You go to the bathroom, you put on your overnight pad, which by the way, I'm not even including it as one of my tips because I feel like it's so obvious, but at night you need to wear an overnight pad, because if you're sleeping for like 12... Did I really just try to pretend that I get 12 hours of sleep a night? I feel like the average teenager gets between, being realistic, like with school and everything, especially high school, I would say like 6 to 10 hours. It's a very like wide range. And so like you're just sleeping for a while, and during like a day when you're actually awake and you're not like sleeping, you would change your pad like on a heavy flow day like every 2 hours or like every 3 to 4 hours. But now when you're sleeping, you can't do that obviously. And so you need to wear a
really big overnight pad.
One of those overnight pads that's literally so long and like covers every area that blood could possibly leak. And of course it has to have wings. But yeah, then you basically have to get into your bed while there's blood pouring out of your body. And maybe I'm just alone in this, but like I really wanted to share what the feeling is like in case anyone else out there relates. You know that feeling when you're lying down in your bed and it's like the blood is like coming out of you down there, but then you're like lying down. You're like lying down and there's blood coming out, and then it's kind of like you're shifting the direction of the blood, so it's gonna like run up your back. I actually have a really bad period horror story. I'll just make it very brief. Basically, I was lying on my back on a white bed when I had a really heavy period, and it kind of ran up my back and onto the white bed, and it ruined my period pants. So especially if you have like light colored bed sheets, that blood is like leaning, so it's like,
oh my god, it's gonna leak out of my pad, out of my underwear, out of my pants, onto the bed sheets.
And it's also hard to get into a good position, especially on a heavy flow day, because let's say you're like on your side and then you need to like switch to your back or something like that. Like the blood will move as you move, and like it'll flow out of you, and you don't want to like disrupt it. Like once you get into a good position, you don't want to move, or the blood will start flowing out. Like on a heavy flow day, maybe I'm just like not normal, but the blood is always coming out of me. It's like always moving wherever like I move, like when I stand up, etc. It's just so annoying, honestly, and it really makes going to sleep a big struggle. But the reason why it's even more of a struggle to sleep when you're on your period is because of, and I know I'm not alone in this, I know that so many other people who have periods experience period pain, which is basically like cramps and back pain. I found that lying down helps, but at the same time, just like lying in a bed without like really stretching, just the cramps and the back pain, it's really hard to fall asleep. But at the same time, when you're on your period, you're more tired. You want to sleep more. Like it's scientifically proven that you're more tired when you're on your period. period. So literally your body's telling you, okay, I need sleep, but your period is telling you,
no, you cannot get any sleep.
and it's literally the worst situation ever. And I honestly hate sleeping more than anything when I'm on my period. I mean, I don't want to say that because like I really love sleeping once I like find the perfect position, because I'm so tired when I'm on my period. But like the actual act of like having to go to sleep and get into your bed, like with the blood flowing out of you and everything like that, it's so not pleasant. It's really not fun. Oh, and the part that is even worse than actually going to bed at night is, okay, like let's say you're waking up in the morning and you like have to get ready for school, or like you're just getting up and you're getting out of bed, okay? You know that feeling when you get out of bed and since you've been lying like in a vertical position all night, and like let's pretend that this is where like the blood's coming out, then you slowly go like that and all the blood that was waiting when you were in this vertical position is now flowing out of you like really quickly because it's just kind of been sitting and pooling in there all night. Or even like when you're sitting, like it's not even lying down. I mean, sitting's bad in itself, like when you're sitting and then you get up and it just like gushes out of you, and then you have to do that like walk to the bathroom to change your pad when you get up in the morning, and it like flows out of you because like it's on the edge of the pad, and like when you change your pad it's like completely soaked. And sometimes I'll see the blood like right on the edge of the pad, like it was just about to leak, and I'm like,
if I had slept any longer, I would have been facing a period horror story.
I honestly hate that no one talks about it because I didn't even know, like I wasn't prepared. Like when I got my first period, I had no idea what a struggle like normal daily activities like sleeping would be. Like I had no idea that it would be harder for me to like lie down when I'm on my period, or like harder for me to get up. Like everything is so influenced by like having a period. And something I did want to say, because I know a lot of people will comment like,
well, you can just wear a tampon when you're sleeping and then like it won't flow out of you.
but honestly I think it's very risky to sleep with tampons in, because how long are you supposed to leave a tampon in?
You should change a tampon at least every 4 to 8 hours.
Yeah, so 4 to 8 hours. And I know a lot of people don't sleep more than 8 hours. I mean, some people do, which is even more reason, but I feel like every 4 hours, like I haven't even used a tampon yet, but I feel like when I start using them, I'm going to be changing them all the time just because I'll be so scared of toxic shock syndrome. So I don't recommend at all sleeping with a tampon in. I would really recommend sleeping with an overnight pad, or like, I mean, it's not ideal, but like if you really for some reason want to sleep with a tampon in, then I would set an alarm every few hours so you can like get up and change your tampon. But I feel like that might like really disrupt your sleep schedule. But I would definitely recommend sleeping with the hugest overnight pad you can find. It's just like such a struggle. Like if there's anyone out there watching this who has not yet gotten their first period, please enjoy those nice sleeps that you'll get when blood won't be pouring up your back and onto the bed, and like you'll be worried that that's gonna happen. So now that I've kind of gone over like the whole struggle of sleeping on your period, I wanted to give you guys some tips and tricks on sleeping when you're on your period, because I've had periods for over a year now, and I've actually found a few things that really help when I'm like scared I'm gonna leak, or just like that help with sleeping and like managing a period overnight. So this first tip is, I feel like one that is like really around on social media a lot. It's a basic one, but it's also such a good one, and I really just want to tell you guys to put a dark colored towel down on your bed when you go to sleep. And this is actually something I've done. Like I'll be totally honest and say that I have done this when I've had a heavy period. It really does help you be less worried about leaking overnight, because even if you do somehow manage to go right through the overnight pad, through your underwear, through your pants, it's very unlikely, but if it does happen, you will have that towel and you won't ruin your bed sheets, you won't ruin your mattress. It is important to position it correctly so that like it's near your whole like upper thigh to like even stomach area, just to make sure that if you do leak, like if it goes up your back, you want to make sure it's like far up enough. Have it cover all areas, or like even put 2 towels down, like 2 on top of each other, or like 2 side by side if you're really worried that it's gonna like leak up your back, or like just on your bed when you're sleeping. This second tip is something that I do even when I'm not on my period, but it is so especially helpful when you are on your period, and that is to sleep with a pillow between your legs to relieve period pain. This is actually something that I do like my whole life, like even when I'm not on my period, because my mom has actually told me it's really good for you. Like anyone who has like a female body, it's really good for you. I'm gonna actually look up the reason. So according to Healthline, putting a pillow between your legs keeps your pelvis neutral and prevents your spine from rotating during the night. Maintaining good alignment can relieve some of the stress from the tissues in your back. The benefit of doing it is so that it like really keeps your back and that whole area nice and even and like cushioned to sleep with it between your legs, because it can really help press into any areas where you're having cramps, and it can also help with back pain, because as I just read, it really helps like with relieving any stresses on your back. And periods actually do cause stress on your back. Like periods can cause back pain. I'm actually gonna look up why. So this actually says low back pain during menstruation is typically muscular in nature and thought to be caused by hormone changes changes. Prostaglandins, which are hormones released during a menstrual cycle to promote uterine contraction to shed the uterine lining, can affect the lower back muscles. And so if you're having back pain on your period, it might be like aggravated or made worse when you're going to sleep at night. So sleeping with a pillow between your legs, it really puts your body into like a nice natural position that like really will help relieve the period pain. At least that's what I found for me. Like, it's just like a really comfortable position for me. And if you've never tried it out before, I would highly recommend tonight just getting any pillow. Like, it doesn't even have to be like a huge pillow. It can be like a pillow that's like this big, and just put it between your legs, and then it'll act as a nice cushion so that it can really relieve some period pain that you're experiencing when you're on your period, and it can help you sleep better, because then the period pain won't be preventing you from falling asleep easily when you're on your period. My third tip, and this is another one that I've actually done, is to double up on pads. And this is something that I do when I'm like feeling really paranoid. Like, my period is just so heavy. Like, I have really bad heavy periods, and so when it's just like really heavy like that, I take 2 overnight pads. And there's actually 2 ways of doing this. So you can either put 2 pads like directly on top of each other, like 1 overnight pad on your underwear and then like 1 right on top of that. But what I usually do is I do like an overnight pad on the front of my underwear. Like, let's just pretend like this is the crotch. I'll do one like on the front of my underwear, and then I'll do one that's like more like lined up, like going up the butt of my underwear, just so that I'm fully protected. First of all, like when they're stacked on top of each other, it's so thick, like it could not penetrate through and like leak on your underwear. But when you're wearing them like lined on your underwear, there's no way it'll leak forward. Like, even if it goes up your back, it will go on the pad and it won't leak through your clothes. I just think it's like a really good tip, and it can really help to reassure any worries that you have before going to sleep. By doubling up on pads, you won't worry so much about leaking when you're asleep, when you're on your period. My fourth tip, and this is one that I feel like no one says, and there is actually more than one reason that you should do this, and that is to get out of bed really slowly in the morning. And this is not only just because it'll help like with the blood not flowing out of you as quickly as if you like bounce out of bed and then like it all comes down like a
Pouring red waterfall.
but I don't know if this is just me, or like if I'm anemic or iron deficient or like not normal, but when I get up in the morning, especially when I'm on my period, I get weirdly lightheaded and dizzy. And it is so important to make sure that you get out of bed slowly to avoid fainting, which is not something that's like really that common. But if you think about it, when you're on a really heavy flow day or like night, you're losing a ton of blood when you're asleep, and just like tons of other fluids from your uterus, and so that might make you really lightheaded and tired in the morning, like standing up for the first time. And so it's so important to go slow so that you don't like pass out or like get really dizzy all of a sudden. And it's usually not normal to feel like excessively dizzy or lightheaded when you first get out of bed in the morning, but I feel like it is pretty normal to experience just a bit of like lightheadedness when you get out of bed in the morning, especially when you're on your period, because you've lost all that blood. So by getting out of bed really slowly, like taking your sweet time and making sure that you don't rush yourself out of bed, you could avoid like a real like fainting spell or feeling like really dizzy, like a dizzy spell. And of course it'll also help with the blood like not rushing out as fast, but then you kind of like prolong the agony because you're like getting out of bed and you like feel it slowly starting to trickle out of yourself. Periods are so much fun, guys. And the last tip that I have for you guys for this video is one that I feel like no one ever says, and that is to wear 2 pairs of underwear when you are sleeping. And this is one that I feel like is so obvious now that I've said it, but if you're really worried about like leaking overnight, it's like doubling up on pads but doubling up on underwear. You will feel like so nice and secure if you have 2 pairs of underwear on when you're going to sleep. So obviously like you'll put on the inner layer of underwear and you'll put the pad on that layer of underwear, and then before you go to bed just put on another pair of underwear, and that way even if you do leak through the first pair of underwear, it's less likely that it'll spread all the way to like your pajama bottoms, because there will be that other pair of underwear protecting it. And it's just like really important to do this because you won't worry as much about leaking. And honestly, something that I experience that really like prevents me from falling asleep at night when I'm on my period is I'm just like so anxious that I'm gonna leak. Like, I'm just lying there in bed so anxious that I'm gonna wake up and my sheets will be ruined or something like that, and that really gives me like insomnia, just like not being able to fall asleep quickly just because I'm so worried about that. And also, I mean, the extra pressure from wearing 2 pairs of underwear could really help with any period pain that you might have while going to sleep, as well as like helping you with being less worried about leaking overnight. It's just another tip that might really help minimize any worries you have about leaking overnight when you're on your period, like when you're asleep, and just about sleeping on your period in general. Anyway guys, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching it, and I really hope that this video was able to help you out, not only like with the tips and tricks that I provided you with like sleeping on your period, but also in just feeling like you're not alone with like the struggle of sleeping on your period, because I feel like it's just such a like ugh kind of situation and no one ever talks about it. But literally every single thing is made so hard by periods. Periods make literally everything a struggle, which is why I want to kind of continue this series, maybe like do one once a month or something like that, because I did do a video on like the struggle of showering and bathing when you're on your period, and now I'm doing like the struggle of sleeping. And as I said, I want to do like more videos like this, like maybe the struggle of exercising when you're on your period. And like I don't really have any other ideas, so if you guys have any suggestions of like any activities or like just anything that you do that periods make into a struggle, like maybe even like going to school when you're on your period, like the struggle of doing that and some tips and tricks, I would really love to make this into a series and do tons more like episodes of this. So yeah, just let me know down below if that would be something you're interested in, and also let me know down below any suggestions that you have for this series. And yeah, I just really hope that you enjoyed this video because it's something I really wanted to do, to like sit down, make sure you guys didn't feel alone in the struggle of sleeping when you're on your period. And so yeah, before you leave, please like this video, and if you made it to the end of this video, comment down below overnight period, because like honestly, when you have a period overnight, it's just such a struggle, as I talked about in this video. And also please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're interested in like more of this series of like the struggle of doing like certain things when you're on your period, like how periods make everything into a struggle. And also just if you're like interested in some more period content in general, because I have literally like a whole period playlist on my channel. And so if you're interested in some period videos about period relatability and like period tips, period life hacks, period days in my life, weeks in my life, just tons of period related content, then definitely make sure to subscribe if you are interested in videos like those. And yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching it. Good luck while sleeping when you're on your period, and I love you guys. Bye.